This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
You're listening to the Telltale Channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Hey, this is Owen. If you're comfortable, leave your first name and state at the sound of the tiny truck backing up.
Hey, Owen, this is Dave from Kentucky, and I just wanted to mention this to you. Really love your stuff, by the way.
Appreciate that.
Huge fan. Living Water actually released a YouTube...
Living Waters is Ray Comfort's YouTube channel. It's got like millions of subbies on it, I think. And it's just right-wing, extremist evangelical insanity. We'll take a look in a minute.
Video not too long ago about the Los Angeles fires, and it is just horrific that they would actually make light on the...
Yeah, I watched a little bit of the video. Again, we'll watch some of it also, but they basically said that the LA fires are the fault of Hollywood, who blasphemes God in movies. So Hollywood... actors brought it on themselves by being blasphemous. That sounds really familiar. It's really sad. Let's keep listening.
Poor people of that situation, and saying that it was because they mocked God that the fires happened, and it's just really wow. Anyway, I didn't know if you wanted to review it and give your own review on the whole thing. Ray Comfort and Ken Ham actually shared it on Facebook, and yeah, this is just a whole new low for them. Anyway, keep up the good work, and that's it. Bye.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It is low, very low. Unfortunately, this has been happening for a while. Again, we're going to watch a little bit of that clip from Ray Comfort, but this is just one example of what happened immediately after September 11th. This is Jerry Falwell Sr. He's the televangelist of the time after September 11th.
This is the first time that we've been attacked on our soil. First.
Okay, no, there was also Pearl Harbor, but all right. Was Hawaii part of America at the time? It was, wasn't it?
And by far the worst results. And I fear, as Donald Rumsfeld, the Secretary of Defense, said yesterday, that this is only the beginning. And with biological warfare available to these monsters, the Husseins, the Bin Ladens, the Arafats, what we saw on Tuesday, as terrible as it is, could be minuscule if in fact God continues to lift the curtain and allow the enemies of America.
Just days after the September 11th attack, and this guy is already preparing people for war with Iraq, which, by the way, Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, as far as I am aware. That is correct, isn't it? I don't think they found any links. Yeah, no, they were completely unconnected from each other. It's just like George W. Bush went into Iraq to finish what his dad had started when he was the president in the early 90s. Anyway, so here's the important part of this, right? Jerry Falwell Sr. is about to explain to us why 9/11 happened.
And allow the enemies of America to give us probably what we deserve.
God is lifting the curtain of protection and I guess dropping the curtain of judgment on America to give us what we deserve, 9/11.
Well, Jerry, that's my feeling. I think we've just seen the antechamber to terror. We haven't even begun to see what they can do to the major population.
The ACLU's got to take a lot of blame for this.
Oh, yeah.
And I know I'll hear from them for this, but throwing God, or successfully with the help of the federal court system, throwing God out of the public square,
That is not what happened.
out of the schools. The abortionists have got to bear some burden for this, because God will not be mocked, and when we destroy 40 million little innocent babies.
That did not happen. 40 million babies were not like destroyed or whatever.
We make God mad. I really believe that the pagans and the abortionists and the
My God,
feminists and the gays and the lesbians who are actively trying to make that an alternative lifestyle, the ACLU, People for the American Way, all of them who tried to secularize America, I point the finger in their face and say, you helped this happen.
Jesus Christ, dude. So the point that I'm getting to is the far right has been blaming tragedies on the left forever, since forever. But let's just like listen to just like a minute or two of this video, see what's happening. Again, Ray Comfort, he's kind of an evangelical nutcase who's written books about Jesus and all that other stuff. YouTube channel has 1.5 million subbies on it, and this has 5 million views on it. This video does. Released 10 days ago. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, released January 10th. Jesus Christ, 5 million views in 10 days.
Welcome to the 82nd Golden Globes. You were incredible in Dune. Oh, woke up for all of your scenes.
He put blasphemy across the screen for just the audio audience. What was blasphemous about what she said? I don't understand.
What a year you've had. When? Couch shots and you'll go, oh, that was.
Is she just saying, oh my God? And that's like what? Blasphemy worthy of hell in your head?
Moms are holding strong with 3 shout outs. God, creator of the universe, 0 mentions.
Mocking God and using his name as a cuss word is nothing new for Hollywood. But less than 48 hours after the Golden Globes blasphemy, Hollywood was on fire.
Tonight, a new fire breaking out late this evening in the Hollywood Hills. Who would have ever thought this? Los Angeles is on fire.
I talked to a fireman once. He was telling me, he goes,
Yeah.
dude.
I mean, like a lot of people saw this coming, actually. It was not as surprising as people seem to think. And Joe Rogan kind of outlined that point in this next clip.
He was telling me, he goes, dude, one day, he goes, it's just going to be the right wind and fire's going to start in the right place and it's going to burn through LA all the way to the ocean. And there's not a thing we can do about it.
The scene, horrific.
Yeah, it's just because California's a desert. That's just how deserts work, unfortunately.
This is new aerial video of a 6th fire, the Sunset Fire, based in the Hollywood Hills.
Firefighters there doing everything they can, but there simply aren't enough of them to fight the horror that has exploded.
Right now, people are rushing to escape the Hollywood Hills.
Brand new fire exploded down the Hollywood Hills.
It's really devastating. I mean, it's really, really sad stuff. And it looked apocalyptic, apparently. Well, I'm going to jump forward a little bit because Ray Comfort decides to give us his ridiculous input on it. We'll come back to this in just a second, but check this clip out from this woman here who's on the Tic Tac, if you will. It was apocalyptic, like really horrific.
Okay, these LA fires, this is like end of time, right? Biblical fires coming down, Jesus will follow.
Like, why do people always go to this religious stuff? It never works out that way, does it?
Does anybody else think this, or like, is it just me being paranoid? Because I'm pretty sure I remember something about like fires will rain. California is like one of, if not the most sinful state in the country.
Oh my God, dude.
Is something bigger happening here?
No.
What do you think?
Anyway, yeah, we're dealing with like a ton of people like that. Just complete brain rot. Like, how did these people arrive at these ridiculous conclusions? My God. Let's continue with Ray Comfort.
Right through LA, and there's not going to be a thing we can do about it. There's nothing they can do.
What would fix the fire problem really quick? Any idea?
I'm not sure.
I don't really know the answer.
Okay, there is no answer. You can't fix the fire problem real quick. But he's going to say, well, if everybody just started praying to Jesus, the fire just wouldn't have started in the first place. Great. Great solution. Thank you, Ray.
What about...
I didn't think about that.
Certainly help.
Yes, definitely.
Wait, what about what? It cut out.
Problem really quick. Any idea?
I'm not sure.
I don't really know the answer.
What about...
I didn't think about
Why did it cut out? I think he said, what about prayer, right?
that.
Certainly help.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Are these fires some sort of judgment of God?
No.
Oh, no one really knows.
No, they're not a judgment of God. Nobody knows, he says.
But one thing we do know is that a good solid rain would immediately fix this terrifying nightmare. And the Bible tells us that God...
Okay, I'm not sure about that. But okay, whatever. It's truly disgusting to me that he is going around, that anybody would go around blaming sinful people, quote unquote, gay people, blaming gay people for the LA fires. Yet another avenue of attack that people can use to hurt a minority group that didn't do shit to anybody.
would immediately fix this terrifying nightmare. And the Bible tells us that God is the one that sends rain, the one Hollywood so joyfully mocks. The concept of God withholding rain as a form of judgment is found throughout Scripture, and they are there to remind humanity that He is the one that's in charge. And this,
I mean, you know why that is, right? Why it's all through Scripture? Because people of that day didn't understand how rain worked, and there were droughts at the time. They thought it was some kind of a punishment. What a gullible sucker.
Sermon on the Mount, Jesus, in speaking of God, said, He sends rain on the just and the unjust.
Oh, wait a minute. So you're telling me that God would have put it out anyway. So gay people aren't to blame then, is what you're telling me.
I live in Hollywood, and I had a neighbor knock on my door saying that the hills were on fire. And sure enough, I went outside. I could see the hills all on fire. I could see people running, throwing suitcases in their car. And
God, that would be so scary. I feel for these people.
And I realized I kind of had to get out before they put the evacuation order in, or else I wouldn't be able to leave.
Did you pray?
I did.
We're actually at Sunset Boulevard at a place and they had to evacuate us.
Just up there last night, actually, and the air quality is much worse, as you can see up there. It's terrible.
This is what Ray Comfort does. In fact, this is what a lot of people in the evangelical sphere do. They find tragedy and exploit it. They get people whipped into an emotional blood frenzy, or ideally, they find them when they're already in an emotional blood frenzy, and then twist it to their own ends, like Ray is doing here. Just disgusting, man.
Well, up there, actually, ashes all over my car, everything.
What would fix the fire problem really quick? Any idea?
I'm not sure.
I don't really know the answer.
What about rain?
I didn't think about that.
Rain would
rain.
certainly help.
Rain, yes, definitely.
I mean, yeah, it would help, but I don't know that it would stop it. Like, he has no idea how insane these fires are. Do you know that, as far as I know, I'm going to fact check this, but water stops fire by depriving it of oxygen. It just prevents it from taking in additional oxygen and kills it right then and there. That's why throwing water on certain types of fire doesn't really help necessarily. And that's why they use other types of fire retardants other than just water, like foam and things. Anyway, I don't know that rain would have stopped it. I mean, these fires were apocalyptic looking. They were gigantic.
Yes.
Who's in charge of the rain?
Oh, I don't know. God, I guess.
God.
Why do you think he's withholding rain from Hollywood at the moment?
This is just disgusting what he's doing here.
I'm not sure. I don't know God's plans.
Do you think God is judging Hollywood?
I've had that thought, and I'm not too sure, though. Absolutely.
Do you think God is happy with Hollywood?
No, but I don't think it's just Hollywood.
You told us.
Yeah, like what's unique about Hollywood? I don't understand. What's he complaining about? Everybody says, "Oh my God." Like everybody says, you know, God damn it or whatever. These are just common phrases. Why are you singling out Hollywood? And in addition to that, why is God punishing everybody in Hollywood, including his followers? This makes no sense.
But I don't think it's just Hollywood.
You told our scout that you hoped you were going to heaven. You don't have knowledge that you are?
No, but I sure as heck hope so.
Do you mind if I make sure you're going to heaven?
I don't mind.
So where are you going if you died tonight?
Oh my God, dude. See, this is an interesting strategy that Ray takes. If you notice, there's the impotence versus evil problem. Why are there like parasites whose whole life cycle is to burrow into the eyes of children and then die and reproduce and die? Why does that exist? Why doesn't God stop that? Either he's not powerful enough to stop it, or he's not good because he doesn't care to stop it. Not all powerful or not all good. And Ray's answer to the impotence versus evil problem is God is punishing you and everybody else in this region because they're sinful. Why would he punish like the Christians? I don't understand. Like, is Ray just turning Christians against non-Christians with this? Is that the goal?
I hope heaven.
Are you a good person?
I would say so, yeah.
I think I would go to heaven. I would like to say so, but I mean, no one really knows.
Are you a good person?
I think I am.
Oh, now he's going to go through this stupid bit he does. How many lies you told? How many things have you stolen in your life? Oh, then you're a sinner that deserves hell. But I'll pray with you and you won't go. Preying on emotional vulnerabilities.
I think I am.
How many lies have you told in your life?
Lots.
Ever stolen something?
Yes.
Ever downloaded music off the internet that's not yours?
Yes.
That's theft.
Oh, then yes, I've done that.
Ever use God's name in vain?
Oh, yes.
Do you love your mum?
I do.
Would you ever use her name as a cuss word?
Like he's haranguing people.
No.
No, because you respect her.
Yes, that is true.
God, I can't believe people are just standing here taking this.
You don't respect the God that gave you a mother. You've taken his holy name and used it as a cuss word. Very serious. Jesus said, if you look at a woman and lust for her, you commit adultery with her in your heart. Have you ever looked at a woman with lust?
Yes.
You're not a good person. You're like the rest of us.
Okay.
You've told me you're a lying, thieving, blasphemous adulterer at heart.
Mm-hmm.
And you're self-righteous and saying you're a good person when you're not. You're like the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
So if God judged you by those 10 commandments on Judgment Day, would
I really cannot believe that people don't just like walk away from this.
be innocent or guilty?
Oh, I'd definitely be guilty.
Heaven or hell?
Probably hell.
You ever heard the Bible verse, the wages of sin is death?
No.
It's very famous. It's saying
No, he says.
that God is paying you in death for your sins. Like a judge who looks at a criminal who's committed murder, but he says, Judge, I'm a good person. The judge says, I'm going to show you how serious your crime is. I'm giving you the death sentence. This is your wages. This is what you've earned. And Steve's sin is so serious to a holy God, he's given you the death sentence. You're on death row. You're in a holding cell. It's got a nice blue roof, good air conditioning, good lighting. But this life is a holding cell, and your death will be evidence to you that God is deadly serious about sin. Yeah, Jesus died for our sins. Most people know that, but they don't know this. And this could change everything for you if you can get a grip of it.
Okay.
The 10 Commandments, that which we've looked at, are called the moral law.
Mm-hmm.
You and I broke the law.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus paid the fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened on that cross. That's why he said,
Okay, look, nobody can step in and serve the death penalty for you. That is not how any legal system works, to my knowledge. You can't just like go to jail on someone else's behalf like that. We're talking criminal charges. That's how he's framing it up rather than civil.
is finished just before he died.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying paid in full. If you're in court and you've got speeding fines, a judge will
Okay, wait. So you're telling me that the judge is going to send me to eternal torture for speeding fines or the equivalent? This is absurd.
go if someone else pays those fines, and it's legal. He can say, you're out of here. Well, God can legally take death off you because Jesus paid the fine in full on that cross, rose from the dead, defeated death.
Well, he can't step in and die for you. This is not how logic works. This isn't how any system works.
And now if you simply repent of sin, and you won't genuinely repent if you think you're a good person. Why should you? But once you see sin as exceedingly sinful in God's eyes, then you can have genuine repentance and you put your trust in Jesus like you trust a parachute. Then you've got God's promise you'll pass from death to life, all because of his amazing grace. Not because
This dude really likes his analogies.
you're good, but because he's good and kind and rich in mercy. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
You're going to think about what we talked about?
Yeah.
I've written a book called Scientific Facts in the Bible. Can I give it to you as a gift?
Sure, thank you.
Have you learned anything today?
Yeah, yes. I'm a really bad person.
And there you can say,
Just sad.
amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Not a good person, but a wretch. Can I pray with you?
Yes, sir.
Ugh.
Father, I pray for Mark that this day he'll find a place of genuine repentance that...
Anyway, just disgusting, dude. This is vile. To blame life-destroying fire, literally killed people. Blame it on gay people and whoever else, whatever other group he doesn't like.
He'll see sinners being
Anyway, who is this guy in the background? What's he doing?
exceedingly sinful. And
Is this dude just holding a camera?
realize Harry's offended you, but at the same time, make it...
Yes, oh my god, they caught the camera guy, I think, in the background. Anyway, just disgusting. Tell me what you think about it in the comments.
Hey, Owen, this is Erica from Indiana. I wanted to say something relating to your video on the trans community. If you hear scratching in the background, I gave my cat my mac and cheese bowl, and he's really loving
No, that sounds fun.
droppings from it. Anyway, I have a theory, a belief on what's going on the right. I think all of the anti-trans stuff going on is exclusively and explicitly for the fact of trying to drive trans youth to suicide. They know they can't commit murder because murder is a sin, but driving someone to suicide is perfectly fine in the Christian faith. Also, you're the first person to independently just use they, them pronouns in reference to me, and I am non-binary, and I just wanted to say that just was so awesome to me. Anyway, thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate the phone call. It's really interesting. I think that that's probably a byproduct that a lot of people do have in mind. I don't think that like all of the anti-trans legislators, for example, have that goal in mind necessarily. I think that they just want to make people's lives more difficult, and that's just what it boils down to. But if they can, accomplish that in the process, so much the better in their heads. Anyway, thanks for the phone call. I appreciate that.
Hey, Owen, this is Jordan from Mississippi. And I just want to say thank you for the content, man. It's really good, and I enjoy it a lot. So I hope you and yours are doing well. Have a wonderful 2025, and I look forward to seeing more of your great stuff. That sounded weird. Whatever. Comes from a good place, bro. Have a good day.
Appreciate it. Didn't sound weird to me for what that's worth. But yeah, 2025 not kicking off so well so far, but we'll make it through. Anyway, yeah, I appreciate it. I actually get like a lot of messages like that, but I don't really play them all the time because, it's not really asking a question. I do hear them though. I just want to make the point to acknowledge that I do hear those messages. If you leave me a message that's under 60 seconds, I will probably listen to it. I'll probably hear it.
Hey, Owen, this is Matthew from Nebraska, just calling to let you know that I appreciate what you do, man. I feel like there's just a small amount of people in this world who see the way that we do, and frankly, it's scary, especially with the upcoming administration. So keep up the good work, my dude. Yeah, hope you have a good day.
Yeah, I'll do my best. You keep up the good work too. We all need to continue to keep up the good work. It's easy to like check out at this moment, to walk away from it and just not like worry about it anymore. But you got to keep your nose to the grindstone. You got to keep working at it, keep fighting, keep donating to, organizations that can help fight this stuff. American Atheists, for example, I'm biased, but they're pretty good. You got to keep working against it. You cannot give up. There will always be something for us activists to do. There will always be some way to fight against a totalitarian regime. Even North Korea is fighting against totalitarianism by sending thumb drives over the border with balloons. We'll always be able to do something. And until we take our last breath, we must continue to do that. We must continue to resist. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. I appreciate all that. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. TikTok was banned and then unbanned in this bizarre situation that's kind of hard to describe, but just let's start from the beginning. Donald Trump, 3 years ago, or 2020, Trump says he's going to sign an executive order that'll effectively ban the use of TikTok in the US. And he did. And this whole time, it's been kind of going through the court systems, getting hung up in Congress and all this other stuff. You know, the idea of banning TikTok generally. But after he announced he was going to ban TikTok, he got a ton of support for it, like mad. Here, just take a look at some of these. Marco Rubio, we need to ban TikTok because TikTok US is controlled by a foreign government in China that collects the private data on over 50 million American mobile devices every day and is using it to track, influence, manipulate, divide our country. Ban TikTok. That's Marco Rubio. Here's another one from him. Why are we still allowing TikTok to operate in America when we know for a fact that the Communist Party of China openly uses it to steal the data on our phones, interfere in our elections, and push their propaganda? This is complicated, honestly. I think that it might be likely that China interferes with the algorithm to some degree, because a while back there was the whole Uyghur Muslim thing. There was outrage over how they were being treated in China, and that was conveniently suppressed in the TikTok algorithm. That's really weird, right? There were some other examples of it. TikTok is still a US company though, and as such, they have free speech protections. The government can't just censor speech that they don't like. And that's why they're focusing on this whole data collection thing rather than free speech, because it's a lot easier to attack the company from that angle than the free speech angle. China, I believe, owns part of it or has a stake in it or something like that. And to sell the company, they would have to agree to the sale. The government of China would. Anyway, it's not technically a ban. They're basically trying to force a sale in the US to a US company, and China just refused. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez addressed this subject too, and we're going to listen to what she had to say about it. Charlie Kirk says, by the way, this is July 31st, 2020. Breaking, President real Donald Trump just announced on Air Force One that he will be banning the evil CCP compromised app TikTok. America can't continue to allow our citizens to be surveilled by Xi Jinping and his terroristic cronies. I have long advocated for this. Fight back. Boy, would it be embarrassing if we had like a bunch of examples of like literally all of these people reversing course and saying that TikTok should like not be banned. That would be super embarrassing, wouldn't it? Here's another ban TikTok from Charlie Kirk. Oopsie daisy. Just picked a whole bouquet of oopsie daisies on that one, didn't he? So the Supreme Court upholds this ruling that basically says that TikTok can be banned. And the effect is, to my understanding, Apple and the Google Play Store and stuff, they won't be allowed to like update the TikTok app, or TikTok won't be allowed to update their apps on the app stores. And they're just it's going to start getting buggy. New phones won't be able to download it, and it'll just fail eventually. Well, TikTok chose to not sell, but to take it down entirely. Just take down the whole service. Now, after that court ruling, Mike Pence comes out and he says the Supreme Court's decision upholding the law requiring TikTok to divest from the Chinese Communist Party is a victory for the privacy and security of the American people. Again, it was not about data privacy. I don't believe that anybody gave a shit about the data privacy. You know how many companies are collecting data on us right now. It's ridiculous. I think it was a free speech thing veiled in this data privacy stuff. We have no data privacy. If you care about data privacy, pass a law to protect that. That's not what it was about. Mike Pence says this law was the result of a bipartisan cooperation, and I commend its authors and supporters in Congress for enacting this vital law for our national security. The CCP has been put on notice that the American people's data is no longer for the taking. The incoming Trump administration must be prepared to uphold this TikTok divestment. Oh boy, this is embarrassing, right? And put the privacy and security of America first. Oops, gosh, that's not fantastic. That was January 17th, 4 days or 3 days or something, 2 or 3 days before TikTok came down. And suddenly, seemingly out of nowhere, TikTok turns off the service and they pop up a message. Trump says, "Save TikTok!" He tweets that on his little social media network there. TikTok pops this message up. Sorry, TikTok isn't available right now. A law banning TikTok has been enacted in the US. Unfortunately, that means you can't use TikTok for now. We are fortunate that President Trump has indicated that he will work with us on a solution to reinstate TikTok once he takes office. Please stay tuned. That is a pretty clear indication that the owner of TikTok or whatever is working with Donald Trump to like circumvent the law, right? By the way, this is a Supreme Court ruling, I believe, on an act of Congress, on a bill that was signed by Congress, I think. Donald Trump doesn't have the authority. He can't just like write an executive order to not do anything with that. And the fact that he believes that he can just circumvent the law as ruled by the Supreme Court and Congress is disturbing on so many levels. I don't even know what to do with it. As far as I can remember, I believe that this is correct. You're going to fact check me on this, but Andrew Jackson, forever ago, $20 bill guy, you know, he was the president during the Trail of Tears, full-blown genocide that the United States perpetrated on Native Americans. I mean, we don't take that seriously enough, but that's not what I'm talking about here. So Andrew Jackson is doing the Trail of Tears, and to my knowledge, I believe that the Supreme Court ruled against that. I think against one of the things that Andrew Jackson was doing. And Andrew Jackson basically said, okay, great. Well, you enforce it then. Here's the problem with government. The three branches, the judicial branch, the legislative branch, and the executive branch, only one of them has the power of force. The executive branch, the president, and everything under him is the force. That's where the military is. So if the president just doesn't want to follow a law, he doesn't have to. It's basically like a loophole in U.S. law that exists it's like an emergent property. It's just kind of something that exists as a result, like jury nullification. You know, it's in there. People can vote against, you know, convicting somebody because they don't think that it was right to convict them or whatever, rather than because they think that they were innocent. So the president, Andrew Jackson, chose not to follow the law, and there's nothing anybody could say or do to change that. And that's what Donald Trump is about to do, or has said that he's going to do. Yeah, the Supreme Court ruled on it. Congress wrote the bill, I believe. And Donald Trump, or the executive branch, has to enforce it. And he said, I'm not going to. Just like with Andrew Jackson, pretty much. That's where we are. That is not how government is supposed to work. We're slowly watching pieces be eroded away. Now, this is one of the most disturbing things about this whole conversation. This is what fascist governments do. Right? Just follow me through with this. Say TikTok reinstates their services. Apple and Google Play continue to do their thing or whatever. They continue letting the app be updated and all that stuff because Trump said, I'm not enforcing this. Suddenly, if Tim Apple or who is the CEO of Google? I don't remember now. Or anybody in the chain of Google or Apple Command, if any of them cross Donald Trump, he can charge them with a crime now. He can charge them for not following the law. Fascist governments tried to get everybody's hands dirty. Saddam Hussein did this too. This exact thing. He would tell his people to, take people out in the street and shoot them so that their hands were dirty too. Anyway, TikTok came up like 12 hours later with this message. Thanks for your patience and support. As a result of President Trump's efforts, TikTok is back in the US. You can continue to create, share, blah, blah, blah. What did they do? What did they promise? What did they promise Donald Trump, the CEO of TikTok, for him to suddenly flip on a dime and support them all of a sudden out of nowhere? What did they promise him? Trump, if there's one thing I've learned from this guy, it's that he doesn't do anything altruistically. There's always some goal, some reason behind it. Here, this is Ron Filipkowski kind of elaborating on it. This TikTok scam by Trump is really something. In a few days, we'll be hearing from Trump about how he saved TikTok and brought it back. He literally created the problem by calling for a ban. Republicans pass a law, it gets banned, it goes dark for a day or two, and then Trump saves it. From the Democrats, of course. When was it? Like a few years ago, I think, Donald Trump was talking about Mark Zuckerberg, in 2020. He basically said that Mark Zuckerberg is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. He said that Zuckerberg rigged the election against Donald Trump, and if he got into power, he's going to send him to prison for the rest of his life. And what happens immediately after Trump wins the election? Zuckerberg announces that he's ending fact-checking on Facebook, donates $100 million, I think, to Trump's inauguration fund, and goes and visits him in Mar-a-Lago. This is what fascists do. They try to scare people into compliance and get everybody's hands dirty. It's how it's worked since the dawn of time, since before fascist was even a word. Here's another example of a disturbing trend. A Washington Post cartoonist she quit because her story or her cartoon was axed. Listen to what she says here. This is on her Substack. Ann Telnace, I think. This is from January 3rd, 2025. I've worked for the Washington Post since 2008 as an editorial cartoonist. I've had editorial feedback and productive conversations and some differences about cartoons I've submitted for publication. But in all that time, I've never had a cartoon killed because of who or what I chose to aim my pen at until now. The cartoon that was killed criticizes the billionaire tech and media chief executives who've been doing their best to curry favor with incoming President-elect Trump. There have been multiple articles recently about these men with lucrative government contracts and an interest in eliminating regulations making their way to Mar-a-Lago, namely Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos of Amazon, or Jeff Amazon, as Trump might call him, and who's the guy that leads ChatGPT, or the CEO of ChatGPT? I don't remember his name, but him. That's who she put in her cartoon. This is the cartoon, by the way. And Mickey Mouse is sitting here in the bottom right, basically bowing down. She drew the three of these people giving Trump money because they donated to him. And she drew Mickey Mouse bowing down because they settled a big lawsuit, Disney did, with Donald Trump immediately after, basically. There's a chilling effect that's waving through society right now, waving through the rich and powerful, a chilling effect. They don't know what Trump is going to do. They believe that he might do something psychotic. So I'm going to just continue on with the cartoonist here. The cartoon that was killed criticizes the billionaire tech and media chief executives who've been doing their best to curry favor with incoming President-elect Trump. The group in the cartoon included Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook and Meta, Sam Altman of OpenAI, of the ChatGPT company, I believe, Patrick Soon-Shiong, LA Times publisher, and the Walt Disney Company, / ABC News, and Jeff Bezos of the Washington Post, the owner of Washington Post, which is where she worked when this was axed. While it isn't uncommon for editorial page editors to object to visual metaphors within a cartoon if it strikes that editor as unclear or isn't correctly conveying the message intended by the cartoonist, such editorial criticism was not the case regarding this cartoon. To be clear, there have been instances where sketches have been rejected or revisions requested, but never because of the point of view inherent in the cartoon's commentary. That's a game changer and dangerous for a free press. So anyway, she quit because Bezos, like Zuckerberg, is bending his knee to Donald Trump because of the chilling effect, because they're afraid of what's going to happen next. They're afraid of what he's going to do. They don't want to spend the rest of their lives in jail, as Trump promised they would. They aren't the only ones that we're seeing this from. Like, Zuckerberg, Bezos, and the others, they're not the only people that are practically bowing down to Donald Trump. Listen to what Snoop Dogg said in 2017, after Trump was elected, but before his inauguration.
So ain't nobody gonna perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you ass gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the out of one of you Uncle Tom ass for doing it. Which one of you gonna do it first? I'll be the one that performs for himself.
Snoop Dogg performed at Trump's 2025 inauguration event. There's a chilling effect sweeping through society. Everybody knows what this means, that Donald Trump won. Everybody pretty much has a good grip on what happens next. Now back to the TikTok ban. Let's just talk about that for a second, because again, Trump started that. That was his thing. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez addresses it. Check this out.
Okay, I want to talk a little bit about this TikTok ban, which I voted against, by the way, since this is coming up soon. Last year, when they brought this ban up for a vote, number one, they said it's a national security issue, it's a national security issue. I said, okay, that's serious. Let's see the case. Let's see the intelligence. Let's see what's going on.
Again, it was not about data privacy. You cannot convince me it was about data privacy. It was about the fact that China might be interfering with the algorithm, which I get that. But, they have, this company has protections under the First Amendment. And if you don't want people interfering with the algorithm, then you need to regulate the industry in some way rather than ban it outright. I don't know. I'm still thinking it through.
I can tell you that what was presented to all of the members voting on this thing was not very compelling. There was no real information that was given that was a smoking gun, that was anything specific. It was very vague, not convincing, and frankly, it was not convincing to many other members as well. In fact, very high-ranking members on the House Foreign Affairs Committee came to me after the briefing, and they were very shocked and pretty surprised at the lack of substantive information in the briefing. They were genuinely expecting there to be some real or compelling intelligence shared.
Again, I believe that China is or was interfering with the algorithm to censor certain things or to promote other things. I do believe that. After seeing the Uyghur Muslim situation forever ago and how that was censored, and also the Tiananmen Square thing, that has been censored in China for a very long time. Tiananmen Square has been a search term on TikTok that has been censored. I don't know if it is now or what, but it was, at the very least.
That would substantiate the argument. And there just wasn't. And they were surprised at the lack of information presented at it. And then also, additionally, this bill, which is very large and substantive, in terms of its impact, came to the Energy and Commerce Committee. It was marked up and it was brought to the floor like in a matter of, I don't know, 1 or 2 weeks. I'm trying to remember. It was just a few weeks, which is very, very fast. Very. Additionally, the degree to which corporations surveil the American people without genuine consent and without real mechanisms for opting out should be illegal, point blank, period. And so many of us naturally said, the answer is not just playing endless whack-a-mole with apps. The answer is that we should have real privacy legislation in the United States.
But that would make it harder for, Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk now. I'm not sure if he owned Twitter at the time. I don't think so. It would be harder for them. It would make their lives more difficult. So they're not going to do that, of course. In fact, it would decrease the amount of money that Facebook makes. Do you know that Facebook got caught a while back tracking what you do on your web browser, just looking at like the tabs that you open? If a Facebook tab is open on your browser, it's probably tracking the other things there. I don't think that there's been conclusive proof that they, for example, listen through the microphone on your phone, or like the Alexa is listening to what you're saying and using it to advertise to you. I don't think there's proof of that. But if it's not legislated against, if we're not protected from it, it will happen. They will do that. I am 100% confident that that is on its way if it's not already here, and if we're not protected from it.
And we should help people own their information and have greater agency over their personal information so that they're not being spied on all the time, whether it's a domestic company or a foreign company. So we need to actually have privacy laws in the United States, to which, of course, big tech is going to fight against, and their lobbies are going to fight against. So they just target an app instead of targeting the problem. And then lastly, when this thing was passed, all these legislators were like, who supported it were like, oh, it's not a ban. It's not a ban. It's just a forced sale, which, to be fair, forced sales have happened in the past. Grindr was a forced sale.
Did not know that. Grindr is a forced sale. Interesting.
And they'll say it's not a ban. It'll be a forced sale. It'll be fine. Well, first of all, they provided very little time for that to happen. For an app that big, like who's going to buy TikTok? Hello? Like, it's very large, but.
Yeah, I mean, there are only a few people on planet Earth that have that kind of money. There are companies that have that kind of money, but like single individuals, like $42 billion for Twitter that Elon Musk paid, I think, or somewhere in there, is insane. That is an insane amount of money. But you know that Elon Musk didn't even pay that. He got loans from like Saudi princes and things, like a bunch of big, influential, powerful people that have a lot of money gave him loans, which is reasonable. I mean, that's how one would go about doing it, of course.
Besides that, after leaving no time for a forced sale, now here we are. And I would say that the lack of forethought and the rushed nature of this bill is now evidenced by the fact that both the Biden and Trump administrations are now looking to see if there's any way to reverse or stall it. And
it's weird to me that it was like so kind of rushed through that. And it was almost nonpartisan. It was something that Republicans and Democrats agreed on. It was like a really bizarre moment in American history to see a completely unpoliticized bill passing through like that. Something that isn't like a part of a culture war or something. And then Donald Trump turned it into a culture war issue soon after. Now, Republicans are dead set on making sure that TikTok is still around because Donald Trump does. And they're blaming Democrats for it, even though it was Republicans that brought it up in the first place. Just wild.
If they're looking at that now, why didn't they look at it then?
The point is that this whole TikTok thing is being used by the right, particularly by Donald Trump, to bolster his own power and credibility. And if somebody steps out of line anywhere in big business, anywhere in the tech world, they can be charged with a crime because Trump isn't enforcing it right now. But he could if he chose. Anyway, this is fascism. If anybody's wondering, this is how it plays out. This is how it works in practice. I mean, there's Umberto Eco's 14 points of fascism that kind of details what it is in more specific terms. Like, I wrote about it in my book, Was Hitler an Atheist? Check it out, chapter 2, I talk about it. But things like there's a kind of a cult of manliness and thinking is discouraged and things like that. That's fascism. But this is what it looks like in practice, having this chilling effect to prevent anybody from crossing the leader. So it seems like TikTok is up for now. And in my personal opinion, I believe that TikTok will remain online. But it remains to be seen. Let me know what you think. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon.
We had our top people, Wasserman. They all came in on the Olympics, and then I saw Johnny. And we got the World Cup, too. And, you know, it's only because they rigged the election that I'll be your president representing you there. You know, I got both of them. I got the Olympics, and I got the World Cup.
Okay, no, World Cup and Olympics aside, he just said that it's because they rigged the election that I am in power now, right? Isn't that what he just said?
And I said, you know, it's too bad. One was in 2026 and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election and now we won. So I'm going to be your president for the Olympics.
Now, obviously, that isn't what he meant. He didn't mean that I rigged the election to take control of the government. But this is what Trump does. In fact, this is what fascists do. They say things that have double meanings that could be easily interpreted another way to provide plausible deniability. That is what he's doing. Do I think he rigged the election? No. I think that he would have if he could. I think he probably tried, but I don't believe that, if there was any fraud, I don't believe that it was enough to overturn the election. I think he won. And the reason I think that is because I spent the past 4 years learning how the voting system works. And I know enough about it to understand how secure it is and how we count them and how we keep it secure. So anyway, he's pushing boundaries. He's trying to normalize things while maintaining plausible deniability. It's like that one video that he did with, who was it, Chris Wallace maybe? I don't remember. This one right here, talking about immigrants.
And we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions.
No, they don't.
Insane asylums. We know they're terrorists.
No.
Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country.
Poisoning the blood of our country. What does that mean? Other than its meaning that existed when Hitler used those exact words. What else could that mean? Hitler said they were poisoning the blood of the country, the immigrants, who were the Jews at the time. They believed that they were immigrants, even though they'd been there for hundreds of years. He said that the Jews, the immigrants, were poisoning the blood of the country by intermarrying, by having interracial marriages with good Aryan Germans. And they were diluting the strong Aryan genes. What else could Trump mean by that? Plausible deniability. Somebody hears that, they're not going to realize necessarily. But he's calling out to a very specific community. And he's getting attention, most importantly. Check this out. This is Stephen Miller at that same rally, I believe.
And we're not going to let the radical left indoctrinate our children into believing there's 435 genders.
Again, nobody is doing that. I don't know what you're talking about. This is fictitious. If this were happening, sure, yeah, okay. Problem with that. You're indoctrinating children and brainwashing them to blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, fine. I'm against that. It's not happening. Same thing happened during the Satanic Panic. They were saying, should we allow Satanists to be babysitters, to work at daycares, to be teachers or police or whatever? Should we allow them to be in those positions? Because, as they said at the time, we know that they have higher rates of taking advantage of children. In reality, like, how many people did that even affect? Almost none. But you know what? If Satanists were intentionally setting out to take advantage of kids and secretly using their position as like a teacher to do it or something like that, I'd have a problem with it, of course. If there was an elite cabal at the top of government and media and the military and business and everything else, and they were pulling strings like puppet masters, I'd have a problem with it. Yeah, it's in your head. It has always been in your head. This is not happening. And you can't convince me that Stephen Miller doesn't know that he's full of on this point. He can't possibly believe that this is real, can he? By the way, this guy's an actual Nazi. I mean, I'm not saying that to offend him or to like insult him or something. He's a Nazi.
Genders. Because President Trump knows there are men and there are women. And it is not up to you whether you're a man or a woman. That's a decision that's made by God, and it can't be changed.
Well, brother, you can say that until you're blue in the face, but the reality is that there are trans people. They exist. This is a well understood, what do you call it, condition, phenomenon in society that has existed for like a very long time. And I'm not talking about in American society. I'm talking through human history, okay? It has always existed. So I don't know what to tell you, but you're just wrong. This does exist. This is a thing. Now, what is his goal here? What is he trying to do with this stuff by banning people from using like the bathroom of their choice or whatever? How many people does that affect? Almost none. And the pretext he's using is because they take advantage of children. Anybody ever notice that it always routes back to that? That is always the excuse used by the far right, the Satanic Panic included. It's always about the children. Get people whipped into a blood frenzy over it, over this fictitious situation that's not happening. Now, they care about trans people being in bathrooms because they're afraid they're going to take advantage of children. So they must really, really care about what the Catholic Church is doing, right? Moving priests from parish to parish to evade prosecution. They're not telling us the real reasons why they are doing these things. When I say they, I mean Stephen Miller, Donald Trump, and other people in his cabinet. They're not giving us the real reasons. What is the real reason? What is the real goal? They say they want to stop trans surgery on minors, right? That basically doesn't happen. To my knowledge, that might even be illegal in the United States. Well, for many forms of it, at the very least. It's such an uncommon occurrence, it's ridiculous. I think it was like 1,000 people had some kind of treatment at all who were under 18 because they're trans. 1,000. This exact thing happened in Germany in like the 30s. Hitler started this whole big thing about how church musicians were Jewish and they were slipping in secret things and they needed to get rid of the Jewish church musicians who had converted to Christianity and everything. You know how many there were in the end? 2. Out of the 18,000 pastors in the Protestant church in Germany in the 30s, 2 churches had one single organist, like a church musician, who were Jewish converts. That is what is happening. It's all happening all over again. We're watching it unfold again. Here's another one. They want to ban surgeries for kids or whatever, right? What about the 30,000 or so rhinoplasties, nose jobs, that children under the age of 18 have had? I think over the past 4 years, I don't remember. I haven't looked this statistic up in a while. 30,000. Do they care about that? Have they done anything about that? So what's the real reason? What's the real motivation? It's not to protect children from being taken advantage of. It's not to protect them from surgeries or whatever. What's the reason? If they told us what the reason was, nobody would support it. Nobody. Because it's monstrous. And the monstrous, bizarre carnival continues on. This is at that same event, I believe. This is the opening prayer at the pre-inauguration Trump rally, January 19th, 2025.
The worthy is the lamb that was slain, but he is standing. Jesus Christ sits on the throne in heaven, and he is completely unmoved by any sort of political power. You can't elect him. You can't impeach him. He is the King of glory. The King of glory.
Okay, nobody tried to elect or impeach Jesus, I assume, right?
And he is worthy of your praise. So, President Trump, we set the name of the Lord upon you, and we declare that no weapon formed against you will prosper, that every tongue that rises up against you in judgment will be condemned. And if God be for you, who can be against you?
Did you catch that line there at the very end? One more time.
That rises up against you in judgment will be condemned.
Every tongue that rises up against you in judgment will be condemned, quote unquote. If you criticize what Donald Trump is doing, if you don't like the way that he's doing things, if you're disturbed by it, if you protest it, you will go to hell. This is a cult. And, you know, people have been admitting that for a long time, that it's a cult. This is Shane Vaughn. This one is from early January 2024. This is during the Stormy Daniels stuff where she was testifying to the fact that Trump had committed fraud to get elected, basically.
Listen, I'm not dumb. I don't know what happened with him and Stormy Daniels. I don't know what happened with him and E. Jean Carroll.
I mean, I think everybody knows what happened there, right?
He may be guilty of it all. And yes, call me a cult member. I don't care.
Okay, I will. You're a cult member.
Why? No more than I would have cared what David did with Bathsheba.
That is a really interesting thing to do, what he just did there. Did you catch that? Comparing Trump to King David. I mean, I've gone through a number of videos with Shane Vaughn. I'm not going to do it again here, but I've gone through videos with Shane Vaughn where he outlines and explains the Trump religion. Not death cult, not like cult of personality, but the religion, the theology of Trumpism, where he is at the center as a messiah, a literal messiah. That is what Shane Vaughn calls him. And in the videos that I have covered in the past, Shane Vaughn has very clearly compared Trump to Jesus 1-to-1, like 15 different times.
Why? No more than I would have cared what David did with Bathsheba if I saw that he was winning the war.
Okay, so you're telling me that you have no moral bottom. Telling me that you are willing to vote for anybody who does anything, even if that person matches up exactly in an uncanny degree with the qualities described about the Antichrist. Even if you're effectively voting for the Antichrist, you're still going to do it because you perceive him to be a messiah. It's a death cult and it's a religion. And here's just one more example of him admitting that. Again, I covered this clip recently, so I'm not going to do it again, but one more example of him admitting to it.
We would never be this defensive of Donald Trump if you would not have forced us into this cult mentality.
It's my fault, see, yeah. My fault that Shane Vaughn and everybody else is in a cult. Totally. I appreciate that he's admitting it, though, at least.
Yeah, we would now fight for Donald Trump. Why? We believe in justice. And when we see a man that God's put his hand on being attacked night and day, you are forcing us to look like a cult.
And of course, attacking Trump can mean all kinds of things, up to and including charging him with a crime, simply charging him with a crime and convicting him by a jury of his peers. Seriously.
Patient and steadfast in our support of a single man. We are cult followers. Yes, we follow a man. Yes, we do. We drank the Kool-Aid and it's orange.
Again, I appreciate that he's admitting it here for once. It's just really mind-blowing to me that people are not catching on to this by this point. Like, we have watched them slowly but surely drag us over to the right. And you know how they've done that? One more thing on this. There's something called the Benjamin Franklin effect. The effect goes like this. If you meet somebody in the middle, they're more willing to work with you on other things. Benjamin Franklin knew a legislator who he didn't like and didn't like him. And one day they got into it all the time. One day, Franklin asks the guy if he can borrow a book, meeting him in the middle. And there's a cognitive dissonance that forms in this legislator's head. It's noble and honest to loan somebody a book, but I don't like this guy. So how do I reconcile that? By solving that cognitive dissonance, he gained a more positive view of Benjamin Franklin, of everything he stands for. And they ended up, like, down the line, they ended up working together a lot after that. Taking one step at a time, one little step, by saying, I think we can all agree that Joe Biden sucks. He's not good. You're taking that one little step in that direction. If Joe Biden sucks, okay. But don't take that one step with the Trump extremists. Don't give them that ground, because that moves the Overton window to the right, the window of acceptable public discourse. It moves it to the right. Don't give it to them. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comments. It's just like, I don't know what to do with this. Absolutely nuts at this point. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Okay, there's this guy named Elijah Schaffer, dude on the right here, and he's just straight up depraved.
And you're not an American because originally you were slaves and you didn't even have value in terms of the political system. Then they were given like 3/8 of the value, right? Of
3/5.
3/5. Thank you. In my world, it was 3/8, but I live in a utopia. No, I'm just kidding. But
that is disgusting. You know what? Maybe he's edgy. That's real. That's dumb as dog. But okay, let's follow him through. Maybe he's just being an edgy little.
But it was like 3/5, and you go down, and it's like. Then, amendments were made and there was adjustments that gave you citizenship and the right to vote. But it didn't make you an American. It just gave you American citizenship.
What is an American if not somebody that has American citizenship? What are you talking about?
Gave you legal right. And that's why it doesn't take a genius to notice that black people and white people in America look, act, behave fundamentally different, both individually and collectively. Now, that's not to say that black people aren't.
Look, that comes down to one of two things. It can only be one of two things. Either black people have different personalities because of, or have different situations, familial situations in culture because of things that happened over the past 250, 300 years or whatever it is, or longer. And the overarching system that we live under has formed out the conditions, basically, that lead to like a difference in culture or whatever. Either it's that, and if it's that, we can fix it. We can change it. We can pump money into communities to, give them like free college education, focus on improving conditions in elementary, middle, and high schools, things like that. Stimulus packages. We can try to make things more fair if it's the result of systemic oppression, is my point. And if it's not a result of systemic oppression, then you necessarily believe that it's a genetic inferiority and you're just a Nazi. Simple as that. This guy just so happens to effectively be a Nazi. I mean, I don't know if he comes out and says that, but he espouses Nazi views all the time. He used to be on The Blaze, you know, Glenn Beck's TV network or whatever, same thing that Dave Rubin is on. I think he got fired. I don't remember what it was about, but now he's got his own show.
Valuable in the eyes of God. It's not to say that white people are better than black people, even if they are. No, I'm kidding.
Even if they are. No, I'm kidding. Okay. They're not jokes anymore, right? Is it fair to say they're not jokes? If you don't feel that's fair yet, stick with me. By the way, something else I noticed I thought was really interesting. Dude in the top left here, this is Jonathan Shelley. He's part of the NIFB. You know Steven Anderson? Yeah, this is an example of Steven Anderson, if you're unfamiliar.
Are there thousands and thousands of Holocaust survivors? Yeah, but all it means to be a Holocaust survivor is just that you lived there at the time that this was going on. And a lot of these people can witness to the fact...
I mean, he's completely full of shit. I'm sure I don't need to say it, but I will anyway.
People can witness to the fact of being rounded up because it happened. A lot of these people can witness to the fact of, you know, being sent to a labor camp because it really happened. A lot of people will tell you about going to Auschwitz and playing on the soccer team and acting in musicals and play.
Oh my God, dude. The vile Holocaust, not even revisionism, just denial. He's completely rewriting everything that happened. That is about as vile as it gets.
And spending the camp currency at the commissary and things like that. But are there thousands and thousands of witnesses that will testify to seeing gas chambers and people being cremated? No, it's actually very few witnesses that...
He thinks that this didn't happen. How vile can you possibly get? That is bad, right? And I want to go down this whole rabbit hole because it's actually very interesting, but we don't have time for it today. That whole bit about there being like camp commissary and a football team and things, whatever it was he said. There was a program in Auschwitz where people were forced to fist fight to the death. Prisoners were forced to fight to the death. Whichever one survived got to go on to fight again. And they did that because it was entertainment for the guards. They forced the prisoners to do a whole bunch of different things to keep the guards entertained. But okay, whatever. Not going down that rabbit hole. This is another example of Steven Anderson.
Hate Barack Obama. You say, well, you just mean you don't like what he stands for. No, I hate the person. Oh, well, you mean you just don't like his policy. No, I hate him. Now, I'm going to prove this from the Bible tonight, why I should hate Barack Obama. Why God wants me to hate Barack Obama. Why God hates Barack Obama.
Yeah, Steven Anderson, NIFB. Dude in the top left, Jonathan Shelley, is part of the NIFB. I think he even took over Steven Anderson's church, or one of them. And he's on Elijah Schaffer. That is fascinating because Jonathan Shelley here on the left gives us a little more insight into the kind of sphere that we're working with. And Shelley also likes to deny that he's political in any way. You know, he takes in only good information, comes to all of his conclusions through solid fact-checked information. Well, listen to him talk to Hemant Mehta here.
I want to know where you guys get your news from.
Okay.
In general. 'Cause
Sure.
you've said, and I don't know if you're joking.
I mean, it's pretty clear he gets it from Elijah Schaffer, right?
Or if you're telling the truth on, like, you mean this? Like, you've said Hillary Clinton's a lesbian, Sandy Hook was a hoax. You've said they put litter boxes in kids' in classrooms.
Why are you laughing? It's f***ing stupid. It was incorrect. You were wrong. Why is that funny? Probably because he thinks he was not wrong.
Because kids think they're cats. And you also said, that's been fact-checked. I heard that from multiple sources.
No.
All of those things are lies. Where are you getting this information from? Like, what is your media diet?
Well, I think everybody can have a personal opinion.
Oh my God, personal opinion. Yeah, but some things aren't personal opinions. Some things are in fact territory. The fact is, Sandy Hook really did happen. The fact is, like, you know, Hillary Clinton is not a lesbian as far as anybody can tell. That's not a matter of opinion. It's a factual statement. Here's one more clip from Shelley before we get to more Elijah Schaffer.
Cliche question. If one of your kids came out as gay, what do you do at that point?
I would do the same thing. I don't believe my kids ever will be because I'm going to get them saved at a young age. And
right. You're only gay if you're not saved, is the thing, in his mind.
I don't think it's possible. But even if it was, if my child committed murder or rape or was a serial killer or homosexual, I would wish the law was equally enforced.
It is wild to categorize all of that in the same group.
You would rather see, if your child was gay and acted on it, all right, death penalty for them too in an ideal world.
Yeah, I mean, the Bible even says a stubborn, rebellious child would be taken to the government.
He wants to have his kid literally murdered by the government if they don't listen to him,
and will be put to death, which to many people thinks even more extreme.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty extreme. Anyway, the point is that Jonathan Shelley is on there with Elijah Schaffer. They work together. They talk to each other, apparently. They agree with each other enough that they are willing to appear together. These people are vile. All right, now listen to this one. Like I said earlier, maybe Elijah Schaffer was joking. Maybe he was just playing a prank and he's not really racist. He doesn't really think it'd be a utopia without black people. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Listen to this one.
Racism isn't bad, okay? So it's not bad to be racist.
Okay, you've lost me here, bro. Like, I'm trying my hardest. God. How does somebody reach this point in their lives where they believe these things?
Because racism is a discrimination factor, which we use all the time.
And everyone all around the world, all races, is racist.
Yeah, and you should
white
be,
people
though.
are the only ones that get criticized for it.
Like, if you're black and you see a group of young black guys rolling up, dressed all hood, acting suspicious, you should make a stereotypical assumption that there's potential issues. And
Okay, look, this is another example of what I'm talking about right here. I talked about it in another video, but if Republicans just came out and told us what they think, like if Elijah Schaffer just came out and actually said what he really thought, I know it's surprising, but he's not. This is veiled. If he said it, fewer people would be on his side. Instead of saying black people are inferior to white people and they deserve to be ethnically cleansed from America or whatever, and we want to segregate and all that other stuff. If he said that, fewer people would support him. Instead, he's drawing out a scenario that seems like it's more of a moral gray area where it's not really racist in the same way as wishing that we were like segregated, that we lived in segregated communities. It's not the same. He's taking a step back and trying to do a half measure to get the audience to meet him there. And, poor dumb fools listen to this and they do it. They meet him halfway and say, oh, what? They're calling me racist for that?
Potential issues, and you should probably not hang out in that vicinity unless you are loaded with a gun and you're wanting a fight. I want to re-educate people into understanding that racism doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a better friend, a better husband, a better father, and it makes you a better person. And it doesn't mean that you don't it doesn't mean that you're against, some people are against miscegenation and race mixing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're against that stuff. It doesn't even mean that somehow you don't have friends. Like, people are like, I'm not racist, I have black friends.
Yeah.
Be racist with black friends.
Exactly. I have tons of black friends. I think they respect the fact that I'm honest to them.
What is wrong with you? You have tons of black friends that respect the fact that you're honest with them by being racist? I don't believe you. Prove it. Prove that you have black friends. Who are these black friends? Kanye West? Anyway, I guess it depends on your definition of racism, right? And that's kind of the line that he's drawing. That's what he's playing off of. It depends on your definition of racism. Some things are systemically racist, like the system or the industry or the organization or whatever perpetuates racist outcomes, even when there isn't a conscious racist actor anywhere in the system. It can just like for example, white people tend to favor people with white sounding names. That's not like a conscious actor intentionally trying to, get rid of black people from the organization if they would deny them a job. Or here's another one. Harlem was historically redlined. Like, the bank would not give a mortgage or wouldn't help black people buy a home unless it was above 110th or something street. I'm not sure. And as a result, a very small number of the black community goes to certain schools below, a certain street number, and that's making the community suffer. That's a racist outcome that is happening because of a decision that was made 50 years ago that isn't even happening anymore, but the effects are still felt today. That's a form of racism, but Elijah Schaffer is playing off of people's distaste at being called racist. I don't really call anybody racist unless it's pretty overt. I mean, they contribute to racist systems and everything, of course, all the time, but I'm not going to call you racist unless you're overt about it. And I don't know what else to call this. This is pretty overt racism, right?
All these liberals like during BLM, like washing their feet and shit, and they're surprised that the racist guy is the one that has all the black friends. They're like confused. It's like, yeah, because they treat
BLM washing people's feet? I didn't see any of that. Is that even real? And if it is real, it was part of a demonstration. People do crazy things like super glue their hand to the road or dump soup on stuff. That's just protest.
They're like confused. It's like, yeah, because I treat them like people. I call them out on bullshit. I don't censor myself around them.
Well, that's also why it's like humane. It's like I'm carrying a gun, and so if I go around that group of black guys, I'm going to kill them. And so I'm actually, by being racist, saving black lives because they're not dead because I chose to not engage.
Holy bro. What is wrong with this guy? He says, I intend to kill black people and I have a gun. So I'm saving black lives by not being around them or I would have killed them. Oh my God, dude. That is insane. That is absolutely unglued from reality. That's Elijah Schaffer. He is a Republican operative. He goes to CPAC. He knows a ton of very influential people. For example, he knows, you guys remember Herschel Walker? He knows Herschel Walker and Herschel Walker's son, Chris Walker, I think is his name. He knows a lot of very influential high-up people. In this one specific case, I believe that this guy is a full-blown Nazi. I don't know if you guys remember this one, but like back in November 15th, 2022, it was after the midterm elections. Was it Katie Hobbs? Is that her name? She won the Arizona gubernatorial race. She became the governor against Carrie Lake, and Carrie Lake did not like that. Elijah Schaffer commented on it. He went semi-viral for this.
Katie Hobbs is the projected winner. The race has been called by multiple sources as being completed.
You can hear the anger in his voice.
And the reason why it's been called is exactly what we've expected. And what Mark was saying was the fact that the races will always be called for the Democrat candidate when they've collected enough votes to win.
Yeah, no fucking really? When people collect enough votes to win, the race is called. That's how math works?
Any of these states, there are theoretically more Democrat voters than Republicans. That's why our founding fathers did not set up our republic to be a pure democracy.
Oh, I see. Well, I mean, they set it up as a representative democracy, right? And I believe the Greeks discovered this. Direct democracy is counterproductive beyond a certain size. Like, representative democracy is really the only way to do it when you're dealing with like 300 million people, for better or worse. But he's saying that there are more Democrats. So he's saying that the Democratic policy positions are more popular than the Republican ones. People like Democrats more than Republicans is what he is saying. And he's unhappy about that. And he thinks that we should just like, what, take away women's right to vote? Only men vote? I don't know. Landowners back to what it used to be? I don't know.
Our republic to be a pure democracy. They don't want stupid morons who haven't done in their life to be voting.
I mean, that's democracy. Look, here's the concept behind it, okay? It's really fascinating. There's I don't know what you got, like a psychological phenomenon, I guess, where you got a bean counter at a carnival. You got a gigantic jar and just a ton of beans in it. If you go around and you ask everybody around the jar what their guess is, and you average those guesses together, you come to a nearly correct answer every time. The two extremes balance each other out. And that's what the point of democracy is. Unfortunately, democracy starts to kind of fall apart when one extreme is like one specific group is the only group that's voting because nobody else cares anymore. Like there isn't an extreme left, but there is an extreme right. So the left wingers that are there aren't really going out to vote because they don't care. And now you got people like Kenneth Copeland and his congregation voting for all kinds of psychotic stuff. So I don't know what the founding fathers wanted. That's completely irrelevant to me. This form of democracy is the most efficient and effective way to govern a country, just about. It's not perfect. It's the best we've got.
To be voting. All this movement that the left uses, like on Instagram and Facebook, and go out and vote. No, don't vote, you fucking idiot. Don't vote. You are stupid. You are a degenerate piece of scum. Your existence is menial. In fact, God loves you. Most of us don't. Your own family doesn't support you very much because you're intolerable. Your views are not well thought out.
Like, who is he even talking about? It's like he's making up some caricature in his head and about it. Like, what is happening? He's getting pissed off over some fictitious enemy he's built in his head.
Are not well thought out. It's not your SSRIs and your depression, your mental illness that is making you miserable. It's the fact that you don't live for anything. You stand for nothing. So everything gives you value.
Like, is there a specific person he's thinking of? I feel like he built somebody in his head that he's looking at in his mind and describing with us.
And you watch TikTok as a hobby. So your life doesn't exist in any real substance. So no, you shouldn't vote.
Oh my God, dude. God, it is so absurd. Anyway, the point that I'm so laboriously trying to reach is that he's a complete piece of shit. I don't know how else to say it, man. And these people all hang out with each other, which is to say they're hanging out with pieces of shit. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. This guy is something else. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. I just finished writing a book titled Was Hitler an Atheist? It talks about religions during the Third Reich and how they work together. Catholics, Jehovah's Witnesses, and Protestants. And I even address the lies told by the evangelical world about Bonhoeffer. It's on Audible and Amazon. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.